The past few decades have seen a lot of debate about gay marriage. I can understand most aspects of the arguments on both sides of the debate. One point, however, is very puzzling to me as a Bible studying Christian, and that is the angry fury of the proclaimers of biblical marriage. I really wonder if this is actually about biblical marriage or about defending traditional marriage. So, what's all this about biblical marriage? As Christians, the obvious place to start looking would be with Jesus' family. His mother, Mary, was 12 or 13 years old when she married Joseph, who, depending on your Christian denomination, was somewhere between 40 years old and 90 years old. But let's dig further back, into the Old Testament of the Bible. Adam, for instance, virtually married himself, saying, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh." Cain and Abel married their sisters, if we're to believe the biblical account. In fact, everybody before Noah's flood married their brothers and sisters and uncles and aunts. And after the flood, we find lots of multiple marriages, as well as incest. Abraham had at least 2 wives at the same time. Sarai, who became Sarah, who was also his half-sister, and Hagar, Sarah's maidservant, and also Keturah, who was also his concubine during his other 2 marriages. Jacob, who became Israel, married Leah and Rachel. They were sisters. He had 12 sons and 1 daughter by his 2 wives, Leah and Rachel, and their maidservants, Bilhah and Zilpah. Moses, according to many scholars, had 2 wives, Zipporah and a Cushite woman. King David had what the Bible describes as many wives, only 8 are named, and interestingly, the prophet Nathan told David that God had given him all his wives and would have gladly given him more if he had only asked. Solomon. He was the wisest man to have ever lived, and he had at least 700 wives, and as well as that about 300 concubines. It must also be noted that most of the biblical prophets and kings had multiple wives. Well, okay, so let's come now to the New Testament. Multiple marriages were actually quite standard in the early church. This is not only a known historical fact, but is also implicit in a letter St. Paul wrote to Timothy about the organisation of his church. In 1 Timothy chapter 1, Paul writes, "A pastor must be a good man whose life cannot be spoken against. He must have only 1 wife." Down the ages, in different historical periods, with different cultural traditions and developments, Christians have had a variety of accepted ideas of marriage. Let's not be like the Pharisees, who Jesus chastened when he declared, "Isaiah was right when he prophesied about you hypocrites. As it is written, 'These people honour me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. They worship me in vain. Their teachings are merely human rules.' You've let go of the commands of God and are holding on to human traditions."